Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
All right, SLC fanboys, we're talking The Mummy. Andy Farnsworth, Tysen Webb, Aaron Zundel, and we decided what we liked. There were several things that we liked, but I want to get into a discussion about, because one of the things I didn't like was that it was way more not for kids than I expected it to be not for kids. And that took me by surprise, and I feel like I got undersold that in the trailer, that this was going as dark and as mummy-rific, back to its origins. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was.
The only dark thing about this is that some of it happened at night.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to split the
Come
difference.
on.
I'm going to split the difference. It was a dark PG-13 show. I do think it sidled right up to the line between PG-13 and R, as dark as you can probably get on a PG-13
The
before
Walking
you cross
Dead
that line.
puts this to sleep.
The Walking Dead is also very R-rated. So
I'm just saying.
In terms of PG-13,
I don't watch The Walking Dead.
I
need
can
to
tell.
make it clear. I need to make it clear. I'm not a big fan of horror in general. This I'm actually a little more okay with.
Yeah.
Because of what they're trying to do, which is start this whole crossover
and there's nothing really
universe.
graphic in this other than maybe her sucking the life force and you've seen a normal person kind of become a skeleton. But that happened in the first Mummy too,
Yes.
with Brendan Fraser. Not
Yeah,
the
And
first
you
one,
know
but
what?
the 1990,
When that
whatever
one
it was.
came out, I was 25, and I watched it with my nieces a couple of years ago, who are a little bit younger, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is just as fun as I remembered.
Yeah.
And then they slept in my brother's room, and my sister-in-law got really mad at us for
Well, it should have been
showing it to the
PG-13.
kids. It was.
Back then, was there PG-13 or was it just
In
PG?
99?
Oh, was it 99?
Yeah, it came out in
Man,
99.
it feels like it was like 92. It feels like it was forever ago.
well, PG-13 I think was developed in 85,
Was it
84,
85?
84.
It came
Anyway.
out
Temple
after
of Doom.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
But
yes.
but the point is that this show, I mean, I like it when shows kind of try and walk this line between being overtly graphic and kind of family friendly. I think that where this show gets its kind of darkness is not in its subject matter, but in its intensity. I mean, it does go to the limits to be as darkly intense as possible at times.
I mean, you saw Tom Cruise covered in rats there. That part, if you were Tyson,
Yeah, but in
I got the
in the
heebie-jeebies.
Brendan
watching
Fraser
that.
one, you had the scarab beetles doing the same thing, and I got the heebie-jeebies with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the spiders crawl on people in this one. I didn't like that
Yeah,
either.
but there's a difference in the music in The Mummy and this Mummy. There's a difference in the lighting.
Well,
When
absolutely.
the scarabs are crawling over people in Brendan Fraser's Mummy, it's brightly lit.
Brendan
and,
Fraser shooting him with shotguns, making quips.
Yeah, in this one, he's like screaming, and the music's intense and it's dark. I mean, there is an intensity level in this show that is not in the original Mummy. I think that is what they're going for, and I thought it was successful.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that there were these moments in each scene, or a lot of them, where they're like, "Oh, we're getting too intense," so insert a random joke and then go right back to the intensity mid-scene. And boy, that was about as jarring as it gets for me.
Yeah, that was the problem with the humor, was they didn't break up the tension at the right moment. I think specifically of that scene we saw in the clip where a zombie's got his head poked through the windshield of the van, and Annabelle Wallis's character is trying to kick the zombie, but she keeps kicking Tom Cruise in the face, and he's like, "Stop kicking me in the face!" And I remember chuckling because it was kind of funny,
But
I
it
also remember
ruined the
thinking, like,
moment.
what are they doing with that? Like,
It really
what?
did
Well,
ruin the moment.
This movie really was, you're right, intense, and so it really needed that comic relief. However, it felt like it was an afterthought, and it was just put in there, maybe in post. I don't know. But
it was probably put in post
feel
when they were like,
bad.
"This might be
Exactly.
too scary."
Exactly, or there's no relief in the action or the intensity, and so we need to lighten it up somehow. So let's just throw this in there. It'll give them
and that's
1.4
what worries me,
seconds of
because
light and then back in.
if you try exactly that.
Whereas where Marvel is they are masters at relieving the tension for a little while and building it back up again.
Yeah,
this one just kind of
is
has
this
those
one where
quips.
there was a war? Do you think between the director, like when he was filming it on scene, what he was trying to go for?
I don't think
and
there
then
was
as they're
a
putting
war.
it together, they're like, "Oh crud, that didn't play out exactly like I'd hoped."
I think that I wouldn't call it a war. I'm not sure that Kurtzman is the sort of director who's like, "This is my vision." I mean, it's his first movie that he's directed. He's usually a writer, so
Right, and interestingly enough, he is one of the big guys on Star Trek Discovery that we're going to see later this
right,
fall.
and he departed that to do this. So at least largely. I mean, he was kind of more involved than he was now, but. I'm sure that what happened was this tested well with audiences, but the studio came back and said the biggest complaint is that it's way too intense in places, and we think that that's going to lose us an extra $100 million at the box office. So let's go include some humor, and
that's
then
the
they
question.
did that and they broke it.
Did
That's
they
pretty
shoot
common.
this as an R-rated movie and cut it back to PG-13?
I don't think they shot it
or
as
did they
R,
shoot
no.
it as
No,
PG-13
not at
and
all.
realized it would be better if they went to R, so they decided to go as close to the line as they could? And so the difference between between the mind of the script writer and then as they
No,
started to
like-
make it.
I think they shot at PG-13, but after reviewing it, like he was saying, they really needed some places to lighten up the
Yeah, I think
the
it was
mood.
PG-13 the whole time.
Yeah,
It was more just a question of
absolutely.
how do we become more appealable to people who don't want it to
Well,
be
and
so
that's really the
intense.
trend in these big blockbuster movies too that are intense. I mean, these superhero movies are intense as well, but that's the trend, right? You need to kind of give the audience a little bit of.
They are made by committee.
You need to
on
be
some
able
level.
to
Right.
let them breathe for a second and then build the action back up again, right? To move the story
So,
along. That's
so answer
fine.
me this then. I am not the horror movie guy, so I haven't seen hardly any horror movies because I don't enjoy them. But you guys see a lot more, so
Yeah.
you're going to be better equipped to answer this question than I am. How does this compare stacked up to something like The Ring?
It doesn't. This is not. It's not a horror movie.
You don't think?
Oh,
it
I
is?
think this is a horror movie, but
No,
I think The
it's
Ring
not a
is
horror
a
movie.
straight horror movie.
You're a horror snob.
Whereas
not a
this is
horror
more of
movie.
an action horror movie. It's Brendan Fraser's Mummy was action adventure. This is action horror. The Ring is straight
This is
up
dark action
raw
horror.
horror.
This is Dark Universe, not Bloody Universe.
Okay, well, what about the? Okay, what's an action horror then? What's a comparable thing?
Well, Aliens was an action horror.
Oh,
It was
that's
R-rated,
true.
but it's
That's
action
true.
horror. I mean, for sure.
how does it stack up against
A
Aliens?
lot of zombie movies are action horror movies.
World War Z. What about that?
That's in the
not a
same
horror
vein.
movie.
What is World War Z?
You
to
know,
you?
I think that
My goodness,
I think that
you
there is
are
a
a horror
distinction.
snob.
I think that there's a distinction in
That was
Tyson's
just an
mind
intense adventure movie.
between a horror movie and a horrifying movie. And I think that Tyson likes
No,
horrifying
but they
movies.
literally win. I mean,
If you look up
Kurtzman even
World War Z,
says
it's
he
not going to
goes-
say horror genre.
I bet it will.
I'm going to look it up right now.
You do that.
I'm going to.
Prove you wrong.
You probably will, actually.
Okay, so next question then, since we're comparing it. Other than the action sequence, what about the Brendan Fraser mummy versus this mummy, Tyson, then in your mind?
Say that again?
Is this a little more scary than the Brendan Fraser mummy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Brendan Fraser's was, I feel like that was more of a comedy.
Interestingly enough, there is an Easter egg in this movie
That-
that may make the Brendan Fraser movie canon.
It's true.
Really?
It's true. They show the Book of Life. You know when they are tussling in the
Oh, I forgot about that.
What we can
How
talk about
dare
this.
you say
Well,
that?
I
No,
Announce that.
most people aren't going to find it. I mean, it's a half-second
We
shot.
both found it, and we weren't even sitting by each other.
It's true. So maybe,
There's an
maybe
Easter
I
egg.
did spoil it.
Plug
I-
your
I
ears 3
apologize to
seconds
anybody.
ago. But there's an Easter egg that when you see it, that could make it all canon.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Agreed.
And it didn't dawn on me that could make it canon. I just remember going, oh, hey, that.
World War Z is drama thriller.
Boom. Drama thriller instead of action thriller?
It's not horror. It's a thriller.
Okay, well, maybe the definition
This
of
is
horror.
definitely
Look
a
up
thriller.
horror on the internet. Look it up in the dictionary. We're going to need that definition when we get back. from the break.